Hello and welcome to another Versus video. Today is a big one. We will be crowning the greatest superhero movie of all time. So without further ado, let's get on with it. But before we begin, make sure you have that subscribe button hit. And if you're already subscribed, make sure you have that bell button smashed. Anyway, enjoy the video. So let's introduce the competitors. One from each of the big boy comics. In the red corner, representing Marvel, we have the biggest event in movie history, Avengers Endgame. And in the blue corner, we have the DC King, the movie that would have ended Marvel had it not been for the MCU, The Dark Knight. Let the fight begin! Okay, let's move on to our first category. So we're going to start off this one with financial success. We'll start this one off that is pretty clear and simple to decide the winner. For financial success, the winner is going to be Endgame, with a massive $2.796 billion made at the box office compared to the $1.005 billion of The Dark Knight. Now that's a pretty big difference from the surface, however it's a bit closer when you look at how much they made compared to their budget. Endgame made 7 times its budget, whereas The Dark Knight was about 5.5 times, which in perspective makes it a lot closer. But for this one, Endgame is going to take it, so Endgame takes the lead 1-0. Moving on to our next category, we have Best Villain. Now, both films have truly iconic villains. Thanos and the Joker are two of the greatest villains in movie history. But who is the better villain? Let's look at each villain more closely. We'll start off with Thanos. The Thanos in Endgame isn't like the one we've got to know throughout the rest of the MCU. I mean, Thor yeeted that guy's head in like the first 5 minutes.
You want some? This bitch empty!
This new Thanos we were introduced to is more of a ruthless but less powerful version of Thanos we've known. The character had become a lot more two-dimensional too. The fact that he hadn't experienced the journey to gaining the 6 Infinity Stones really showed. It was a nice move to bring him back for Endgame as the antagonist, so the time heist we see in the movie wasn't super easy. However, this version of Thanos is just an average bad guy. The Thanos from Infinity War would have been a lot more well-rounded, developed character with a true goal, and that Thanos made this Thanos harder to connect with. However, he did make it a great final battle scene for the end of Endgame. Let's switch it to the other side and talk about the Joker. The Joker is one of the most iconic characters, and until The Dark Knight, most people thought that the Joker was Jack Nicholson. However, Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight is something special and is now considered the Joker by most people. He is maybe the greatest villain ever to grace our movie screens. The Joker in The Dark Knight was chaotic but in control. It was like the character had been brought to life. To start with, the Joker's plan in the movie goes pretty much to plan. Some of the things he does is truly villainous. I mean, the magic trick with a pencil? Oh! That would be a really painful death. The way he blows up the hospital, which by the way was improvised after the explosive didn't work correctly on set. It was just everything you could want from a villain. The acting was incredible. The Joker is a true icon in pop culture, and Heath Ledger's version is that. The fact that even in losing, the Joker still won. We could go into more detail about the Joker and why he's so brilliant, but this video doesn't need to be that long. Overall, for this category, we've got to give it to The Dark Knight and Heath Ledger's Joker. Thanos from Infinity War would have been a closer match, but Endgame's Thanos doesn't even come close to the brilliance that was the Joker in The Dark Knight. Moving on to our next category, we have Story. Let's start with The Dark Knight for this category. The Dark Knight storyline is pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. It had all you want from a movie, a hero, a proper villain, and a love interest. But it was so much more than that. The intertwining story with Batman, Dent, the Joker, and Rachel made it really captivating. The way we see Joker cause chaos, the way we see Dent's evolution in the film, how Batman, for all his tech and power, is completely powerless for most of the film, the fact they killed off Rachel, it was a plot that kept you guessing on every turn. On the other hand, we have Endgame. Endgame's storyline was, well, it was good. It had a slight problem in the fact that it was trying to tie up the MCU, and it was trapped in the fact that they needed to use time travel. However, it did a brilliant job at that. It was a nice spin on your standard sci-fi time travel movie. The fact the plot also took you back to bits from other movies in the MCU was awesome. Psst, We really loved Cap vs. Cap. The way it ended in an awesome battle with all your heroes from the MCU with Tony Stark saving the day was all you could want as a fan. The movie was also emotional. Losing Black Widow like that was heartbreaking. I also want to say that the way they mixed up Thor was a great added touch. However, we need a decision, and for this category we're going to give it to The Dark Knight just. I couldn't tell you how many people I know who'd argue for both sides on this one, but we're going to give it to The Dark Knight. Moving on to special effects. Well, we're going to have to start this with Endgame for this one. The whole movie is basically all green and blue screen. I mean, who knew these time travel suits were all CGI? That literally blew my mind when I found that out. But even with all that CGI, it looked pretty good and realistic. I was never like, that looks fake while watching. The practical effects were also really good. I mean, Thor's basically fat suit worked really well. I'm actually surprised they did that practically, especially considering how much CG the rest of the movie had, but it really worked. Flipping the coin, Nolan's Dark Knight doesn't use that much CG. He's more into practical effects that worked well throughout the film. I mean, even the fact they didn't quite work correctly sometimes, like the hospital scene, actually made it really good and gave the actors time to improvise and produce some of the greatest scenes we've ever seen in a movie. However, the CG they did was actually well ahead of its time. The way Dent's muscles move when he becomes Two-Face was something you hadn't really seen before, and has actually changed the way a lot of VFX art is done nowadays. However, overall, I think we're going to crown Endgame the winner for this category. Moving on to the best score. Now, let me start off by saying both scores are some of my favourite movie scores of all time. The Dark Knight built tension well and was beautiful the way the Joker's Why So Serious theme was built off two notes played on different instruments. It just shows just why Hans Zimmer is such a genius when it comes to movie scores. Endgame's score was brilliant too. The fact that Marvel theme at the start uses half the instruments it had from the full one in Infinity War was a masterclass of a move. I couldn't believe my ears learning that crazy fact. Overall, for this category, I'm going to say The Dark Knight just edges it. Moving on to the wider story. The category is going to be another short one. Yes, The Dark Knight is part of possibly one of the greatest trilogies of all time. However, for the wider story, there was only going to be one winner. And that is Endgame. I mean, that movie tied up the MCU. It had so many crossovers, it was mad. The MCU basically destroyed the cinema game. Everyone's trying to create their own, including DC's, who, well, flopped badly. Let's not talk about that one. So for this category, Endgame takes it. Our final category, Best Standalone Movie. The Dark Knight you can quite easily watch without seeing Batman Begins. The story hints at bits from the first movie, but does enough explain them that you can keep up and not get lost. Endgame, however, is slightly harder to watch as a standalone, mainly because it's the second part of Infinity War and ties up the MCU. However, it could be watched as a standalone as it actually recaps things pretty well. However, I'm going to give it to The Dark Knight. So that means the overall winner by a green hair, is The Dark Knight by a win 4-3. Another classic score. I think that's fair. Don't get me wrong, I love both films, but The Dark Knight does just edge it as the best superhero movie of all time. I mean, IMDb agrees with me. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Tell us in the field section or the comment section for you newbies which is your favourite and why. And also tell us if you think we did alright with this comparison or what did we miss. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you smash that like button and why not share it on social media so other people can view the video. I mean, why not? If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more TV and film videos every Tuesday and Friday. If you're awesome and already subscribed, make sure you also have that bell button clicked so you never miss a new video. And as always, we've been here on Gate of Theories. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on Tuesday with another video. Thanks for watching, guys.
Throw a rock into a pond, ripples fade away. Human hearts aren't so lucky, those battle scars remain.